You're watching Money Talks with me, Oscar Subakti. Coming up on the program, a cheaper and some say better AI app from China scares investors, wiping out more than $1 trillion from Wall Street. Can Boeing recover from its biggest annual loss since 2020? And a makeover for the world's most popular museum. DeepSeek is the latest example of the rise of innovation in China's AI sector. Analysts are saying that the US's tariffs on the country are forcing it to look for cheaper and efficient methods, which has led to the growth of Chinese AI products. Emre Boz reports.
The idea was simple. The US was to set tariffs on China or to make US goods more competitive than Chinese products. That was part of Donald Trump's America First policy back in 2018. This limited Chinese firms from accessing both AI chips and semiconductor materials. Fast forward to today, and a Chinese startup has rattled the US stock market. After the release of DeepSeek's latest AI model, US tech stocks saw losses worth up to $1 trillion.
It's precisely because of these export restrictions that incentivize the Chinese firms to trying to innovate. Since given this restriction on hardware, they were trying to innovate on software, right? I mean, so that actually accelerates Chinese AI development. Thanks to the export restrictions.
DeepSeek has launched an incredibly affordable model and released it using an open source approach. They've discovered a way to outpace other companies in the industry.
The Chinese firm was able to develop an open source model using less powerful AI chips and cheaper methods. But they're just one example of a company that managed to innovate given the US's restrictions. To reduce reliance on high-end chips from overseas, Chinese companies are exploring new ways in AI algorithms and training strategies. Take, for instance, China's largest e-commerce company, Alibaba. They've released their latest cloud-based AI model, the Qwen 2.5 Max. They claim the model can outperform competitors like OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 and Anthropic's Claude 3.5. This sparked investor attention, pushing Alibaba's stocks up 2.8%. So what does this all mean for US tech companies? In Trump's words, it's a wake-up call.
The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that.
For him, it's a call to action, and he hopes to jolt the sector with his massive $500 billion AI infrastructure investments, which means it's full steam ahead for the race in AI. Emre Boz, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by Dennis Kenji-Kipke in Frankfurt, Germany. He's the Research Director of the Cyber Intelligence Institute. Good to have you back with us, Dennis. Now, a small, relatively unknown Chinese tech company stunned the world with the release of its ChatGPT alternative, DeepSeek. It saw more than $1 trillion wiped off the value of some of the US's biggest tech stocks, including NVIDIA, America's advanced chip maker. How much of a threat do you think is DeepSeek and the wider Chinese AI industry to the dominance of America in that space?
Yeah, so Chinese AI industry with advancements like DeepSeek we have seen this week pose a significant and growing threat to America's dominance in the field of AI. So while the US had traditionally led in AI research and development, China also had a very rapid progress in recent months, so driven by substantial government investment, a vast talent pool, and what is possibly the most important thing, a willingness to embrace innovation. And this is the closing the gap. And DeepSeek emergence demonstrates in some way China's ability to create competitive AI models and also potentially disrupting the existing landscape and challenging the established leadership of American companies for years. And this competition could lead to a shift in global AI influence with implications for technological advancement, economic competitiveness, and also possibly national security.
Now, we know US tech giants have been pouring billions of dollars into their AI models and various AI products, but DeepSeek claims it's managed to develop its product using just $6 million. There are some skeptics who say that that perhaps is a bit of a white lie, that it costs upwards of $1 billion for the Chinese tech company to develop its product. We also know that despite the ongoing ban on advanced chips to China, DeepSeek and other Chinese tech companies have managed to develop their models. Again, skeptics are saying, in fact, some of these companies are using US advanced chips. Who do you believe? Do you believe the claims from DeepSeek and other Chinese companies that really they're developing their models at a fraction of the cost and without using US chips?
So while DeepSeek's claims of developing a competitive AI model at a fraction of the cost and despite US chip bans, they might raise eyebrows, they aren't entirely unbelievable in my opinion. So it's possible they achieved cost efficiencies through innovative approaches, open source resources, or focusing on specific niche. And the chip ban, while definitely a significant hurdle to the technological development in China, doesn't completely cut off China's access to advanced chips. And workarounds, stockpiling, as we have seen with DeepSeek, and domestic chip developments are possibilities. And furthermore, fraction of the cost is a relative term, and this at the moment it lacks of specific figures, making it difficult to verify. While healthy skepticism is, in my opinion, warranted, dismissing DeepSeek's claims through outright might be premature.
And we know the US's approach, for now at least, is to impose tariffs on China's economy, not only in its tech sector, but also in other sectors where China seems to be getting ahead of US innovation. Do you believe that's the right approach from Washington's perspective, to penalize China for its innovation?
Yeah, the effectiveness of US tariffs on China as a countermeasure to its rise in tech and other sectors is a complex and very debated issue. And while these tariffs can increase the cost of Chinese imports, potentially making domestic products more competitive, they also definitely risk raising prices for American consumers and businesses that also rely on those technology imports. And furthermore, tariffs haven't necessarily addressed the underlying issues driving China's technological advancements, such as government investment in research and development, intellectual property concerns, and also industrial policy. And China has also retaliated with its own tariffs, creating a trade war that can harm both economies. And while tariffs might be one in a tool in a broader strategy, the long-term effectiveness in containing China's tech rise is questionable and may even be counterproductive in some cases.
Okay, Dennis Kenji, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thanks, as always, for joining us on the program. US aerospace company Boeing had a turbulent 2024. The company is now focusing on recovery and stability as it works towards a challenging year ahead. Boeing reported an $11.8 billion loss for 2024, mainly due to labour disruptions and issues in its commercial and defence divisions. Despite setbacks, Boeing's fourth quarter results showed stabilisation, with more than $15 billion earned in revenue. The company said they're restarting factories, building more planes, and promising safer designs. And the US aircraft maker resumed production of key models like the 737 MAX. It expects positive cash flow by mid-2025, which has boosted shares and investor confidence. Its shares rose to their highest level since August 2024, up more than 7% before settling down to closer to 4% on Tuesday afternoon. There appears to be greater investor confidence in the company's recovery. Let's cross now to Kampala in Uganda and speak with aviation analyst Derek Nseko. He's the founder of Airspace Africa. Really good to have you with us, Derek. Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg seems to be cautiously optimistic at this stage. He says that he expects Boeing to turn cash flow positive in the second half of this year. How optimistic are you that Boeing can kickstart its recovery so quickly?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I would say I'm positive, but I'll throw some caution into the wind as well. The challenge when it comes to the recovery, it's going to be a very challenging recovery for Boeing, but I think the next 12 months are extremely critical. The Boeing has to stabilize production again, and the priority as well is for it to reestablish the trust that it had with the industry and with its customers, as well as to get back to being cash positive. So that depends on a whole lot of factors.
And we know there have been a number of incidents that Boeing has experienced in recent years, including 2 deadly crashes that grounded an entire fleet of Boeing's aircraft for quite some time. It's shaken public trust in the airline. Do you believe Boeing is on its way to recovering from that trust issue, especially among the flying public?
Yeah, I think Boeing has already started putting into place the measures that it needs to, one, restore trust. Secondly, as well, to get back to manufacturing the highest quality of products. In the past, Boeing had perhaps become a bit more obsessed with manufacturing as many aircraft as possible, but they have to get back to focusing on quality rather than quantity. So in the next few months, Boeing will first of all, have to stabilize the production, especially of the 737 MAX, which is extremely crucial for the bottom line. The backlog right now for Boeing is about 5,500 aircraft. 3,500 of those are 737 MAX. So that is an important production line for Boeing. Currently, it's capped at around 38 aircraft by the FAA. It's still way below that, and it hopes to reach that this year. And perhaps then it will be able to ask the FAA to enable it to extend that. But 737 MAX production is extremely important for Boeing, for it to alleviate the backlog that it has. And that's an important part of its recovery as well. I think Boeing as well, right now, not only has to meet the expectations of the regulators at the moment for Boeing to recover the reputation that it had, perhaps it has to even exceed the expectations and the requirements from the regulators.
Now, Boeing, of course, suffered a series of confidence issues, including internally, where even its own staff said that its practices had lapsed, that quality was becoming an issue. Do you believe that internally Boeing is now on the right track? We know that they've decided to pay their workers more. Do you believe that will help the company get back on track and I guess instill confidence within the company as well as outside of it?
Yes, I do believe, and the process obviously starts internally. We know that the past 12 months, which have been very challenging reputationally for Boeing, have been marked by various crises, including what you've hinted on, the machinist strike by Boeing. So they do need as well to, first of all, even for them to stabilize production, they need to resolve the labor issues for the long term, perhaps get into a long-term deal with their labor force. In order to ensure a more sustainable process going forward. That's a crucial part of Boeing. But yes, Kelly Ortberg, the CEO, has also, reaffirmed to the industry that they are taking the necessary process. I think one of the important things that he's mentioned is that for Boeing to get back, they have to refocus specifically on the production of commercial airplanes. So that might also mean that they divest from some of their units. For example, the navigation, the Yepesen Navigation Company, even the space department, which is facing a lot of competition. Right now, the market leader is SpaceX. There's other competitors such as Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, and there are challenges there as well. So Boeing, as part of that process, especially when it comes to regaining trust and getting back to manufacturing the highest quality product, they do need to refocus on the commercial airline department.
Okay, Derek and Seko, really good to get your analysis. Thank you again for joining us. Friday marks 5 years since the United Kingdom formally left the European Union. The last half-decade has seen huge change for the world involving war, disease and struggling economic growth. And some in the UK feel their situation has been made worse by the impact of Brexit. The topic, however, was not a significant factor in the UK election in July last year, which saw a Labour government return to power for the first time in 14 years. Opinions on Brexit are shifting, though, and could be setting the scene for a growing appetite in Britain for a so-called return to the EU. TRT World's Joel Flynn has more from London.
It was welcomed with ceremony, celebration and even tears of joy. 5 years ago, on January 31st, 2020, Britain's 47-year membership of the European Union came to an end. It was supposed to mark the start of a country taking back control of its governance, nearly 4 years after a majority of Britons voted to leave the EU.
We're British, we've done well before we went into the Commonwealth market, and we're going to thrive. Everybody here is going to benefit from coming out.
As the country marks the 5th anniversary of the move, however, its legacy is already looking more complicated than some had promised. A report earlier this month estimated that Brexit has cost the UK economy around $175 billion US. According to the World Trade Organization, exports have fallen sharply, with British finance and transport sales hit particularly hard, while other economies have seen trade grow. Meanwhile, a key reason cited for leaving the EU by many was the number of migrants coming to the UK. In the 5 years since Brexit, migrant arrivals in Britain have repeatedly hit record levels, the vast majority from non-EU countries. All of this could partly be why British public opinion seems to be turning against Brexit.
Excuse me, has Brexit been a success, do you think?
Oh God, no, I don't.
Why not?
I feel like it's just caused more harm than not, really. Generally across a lot of things, but.
Brexit, a success or not?
Oh, no way.
No way?
No, I don't think so anyway.
Why not?
Well, I'm from Northern Ireland. Not happy how it's going over there.
Excuse me, madam, Brexit, a success or not?
Should be, but probably hasn't been.
Recent polls suggest that British voters aren't happy, including those that backed leaving the EU. According to the UK's National Centre for Social Research and a poll by YouGov, around 6 in 10 feel it's gone badly, while more than half the public now believe it was wrong to leave the EU. A poll in October last year suggested just 12% of Britons believe that Brexit has gone well. Britain's Finance Minister Rachel Reeves on Wednesday said the UK was looking at how it could reset its trade ties with the EU. European politicians have said they're open to finding new ways forward.
We as European Union had to accept this decision of our member state, the United Kingdom, to leave our family of nations. Since then, we have been working on a positive agenda with the different UK governments, and I think we have made some substantial progress.
Since the Brexit referendum in 2016, the world has changed. The COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and the cost of living crisis are all things that have fundamentally impacted life in this country. Increasingly, it seems, many here are beginning to wonder whether the future of Britain alone looks as bright as it might have done 5 years ago. Joel Flynn, TRT World in London.
Well, since the UK's decision to leave the European Union, the economic consequences have been widely analysed, with impacts on trade, investment, labour markets and overall economic growth. But how much has Brexit actually cost the UK? Has it lived up to the promises, or has it led to more challenges? TRT World's Tulay Kalyon Hasna-Darolu spoke to the UK Labour Party's MP Afzal Khan.
The cost of Brexit is a complex story. It cost the UK several prime ministers, all of whom resigned during or after Brexit, facing its challenges. Now, to look into it in details, especially in economic terms, we are joined by Mr. Afzal Khan, who is an MP for the Labour Party. Mr. Khan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Following Brexit, many global companies left the UK. What can be done to make the UK a attractive market again?
Well, I think first thing to do is to acknowledge that the deal which had been negotiated by the Conservative Party has been a failure, and every home in Britain has, in a way, paying a price for it. What we need to do as a new Labour government is to look at how do we make this deal effective, because the European Union are our closest neighbours and our biggest trading partners. So it's important for both sides to ensure that this relationship works. and the Prime Minister this coming Monday will be going to Brussels to start having that discussion. I think that is important, and that would help us to reset that relationship, and hopefully would help those companies who have left to come back and let us work together to grow this economy.
Yeah. And what kind of long-term plans have you got to cover the costs of Brexit?
Well, a long-term plan actually for the Labour government, the number one priority is to make sure that we invest, we grow the economy. And you see on the investment side, again, in the last 2 decades, the highest amount of investments is now going in. That surely is going to help us. We've also introduced a number of plans. You've seen today the announcement of Heathrow Airport, of other airports, because airports are big engines for the growth of the economy. You've seen the Prime Minister announcing that we want to be leading in the world on AI and the investment going into Liverpool. You've seen this Oxford and Cambridge corridor, making this the Silicon Valley of Europe. All these are ideas to help us to grow.
So you have been appointed as a trade envoy for Turkey, and Turkey has been a key trade partner for the UK, especially after Brexit. What can we expect to see in the future?
Well, look, first of all, I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm delighted to have this role. I have a long-standing relationship with Turkish people and the Turkish country. I like it. And I think Britain too has had a long-standing relationship, and also equally an important relationship. Our trade already is around 26 billion. And what I would like to do is see this grow. I like to see, there's 500,000 Turkish who live in Britain. They've made Britain their home as well. So that diaspora is an amazing, strong link between Britain and Turkey. They too would have an important role to play. So I'm looking forward to working closely with both governments, strengthening this relationship, making it go deeper and wider so that it will help both countries.
The Louvre Art Museum in Paris is getting a major makeover, the biggest in decades. And as part of it, the world's most famous painting will soon have its own private space. Nicholas Morgan has the details.
For centuries, the Mona Lisa has drawn millions of visitors from around the world. But long queues, noisy crowds, and a packed exhibition room have made the experience far from ideal. Now the Louvre Museum is planning a massive renovation, one that will finally give the iconic masterpiece a room of its own.
The creation of these new rooms should enable the Mona Lisa to be installed in a special space, accessible independently from the rest of the museum, with conditions that match what the painting deserves.
It's set to be the biggest transformation the Louvre has seen in decades. It includes a new grand entrance, expanded facilities, and updated technology to protect its priceless works of art. In its current state, the museum is designed to welcome 4 million visitors a year. It now hosts more than double that number, and its aging infrastructure has struggled to keep up.
We work in extremely poor conditions. The museum is in serious disrepair, leaking roofs, non-functioning lifts, and barely any restroom facilities for visitors.
There was no announcement how much the upgrade will cost, but French media reckon it'll be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And the French government is going to foot the bill. Plus, there will be higher ticket prices for non-EU visitors from 2026. President Macron expects these upgrades to push annual attendance up to 12 million visitors.
The goal is to improve the visitor experience while ensuring the Louvre remains a global cultural icon.
France is hoping to redefine the museum experience, making it smoother, more comfortable, and more profitable. The Mona Lisa may soon be easier to see, but its mystery, well, that will always remain. Nicholas Morgan, TRT World.
And if you have any stories you'd like our reporters to look into or any questions for our experts, send us a post on X at TRT Moneytalks. And that is all from Money Talks for now. From me and the whole team here in Istanbul, thanks for watching. Bye for now.